Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an EB-5 investor, you already know your immigration journey has been an absolute marathon. You've navigated the complex capital requirements, you've waited patiently through the conditional green card period, and now we've finally arrived at the critical final threshold. Today, we're demystifying the I-829 together to figure out how to choose the absolute best filing service to protect everything you've worked so hard for. Okay, let's dive into this. When you look back at this whole journey, you're kind of the hero of the story here. You've committed immense time, energy, and, well, a lot of capital to reach this exact moment. But this final step, it demands an expert guide, because securing that permanent green card relies entirely on how well this last petition is handled. The professional service you choose right now can quite literally make all the difference for your future. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the final immigration hurdle. Then, who should actually file your case? We'll go over 6 keys to success, some major red flags to avoid, and finally, wrap up with your I-829 timeline. All right, part 1, the final immigration hurdle. So what is the I-829? Officially, it's the petition by investor to remove conditions on permanent resident status. Try saying that 3 times fast, right? But listen, this isn't just some standard bureaucratic formality or a simple box-checking exercise. This is your definitive proof to USCIS that you met all of their strict conditions. You actually have to prove that your investment was sustained, that the required jobs were created, and that your capital remains truly at risk throughout the entire 2-year period. And because it's that final gateway, the stakes are, well, they're incredibly high. A denial here isn't just a paperwork headache. It directly threatens your family's legal status in the U.S. and significantly complicates recovering your capital investment. With both your life and your finances completely on the line, treating this casually simply isn't an option. Moving on to part 2, who should file your case? Now, you've basically got 2 options here. On one hand, you have immigration attorneys working at EB-5 specialized firms. These folks are the gold standard. They provide real legal advice, handle complex complications, and legally represent you before USCIS. On the flip side, document preparation services. Sure, they might help stack your papers neatly, but they're legally prohibited from giving you any actual immigration advice. For a petition this massive, relying solely on a document prep service feels like a pretty significant, unnecessary risk. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the type of investment you made completely changes the evidence you're going to need. If you invested through a regional center, your I-829 leans super heavily on their specific economic methodology and job creation data. But if you made a direct investment, you have to provide your own detailed, independent tracking of those jobs. A specialized attorney actually knows exactly how to translate these very different data sets into a winning petition. Okay, let's get into part 3, 6 keys to success. So when you're evaluating someone to guide you, here are 6 critical factors you absolutely need to look for. First step, verified I-829 experience. You gotta ask how many they've actually filed successfully. Second, they have to understand your specific investment structure, like if you used a TEA, a Targeted Employment Area Designation. Third, what's their track record with RFEs, those requests for evidence? If they haven't handled an RFE, honestly, they aren't ready. Fourth, clear fee structures. Fifth, great communication and accessibility. And finally, total independence from your regional center. So the crucial point here is that last one. Your attorney's job is to represent you and not the regional center. That is an incredibly often overlooked necessity. I mean, think about it. If your filing service has a financial tie to your regional center, that's a massive conflict of interest. If the regional center's job creation evidence falls short or the project hits a snag, you need a fierce, independent advocate in your corner. You should always confirm that your legal representation is completely independent. Which brings us to part 4, red flags to avoid. You really want to keep a sharp eye out for these warning signs. Number 1, guarantees of approval. Unless they have a literal crystal ball, no legitimate attorney can guarantee what USCIS will do, period. Number 2, one-size-fits-all pricing with absolutely zero assessment of your unique case. Number 3, having no licensed attorney on file. Number 4, if they're unfamiliar with your specific investment type, just walk away. And finally, pressure to rush. Reputable firms do things right, not just fast. So how do you dodge those red flags? You take charge of your initial consultations using these 4 exact steps. Just ask them point blank. Step 1, how many I-829s have you filed in the last 3 years? Step 2, what is your RFE response process and your success rate? Step 3, who will actually be my primary point of contact for updates? And step 4, crucially, what happens if the petition is denied? Getting direct answers to these questions is going to tell you way more than a slick marketing brochure ever could. Let's move to our final section, part 5, and see how this builds. Your I-829 timeline. Okay, this timeline is super helpful. The I-829 filing window officially opens 90 days before your conditional green card expires. But, and this is absolutely key, you shouldn't wait until then. 6 months prior, you really need to start gathering your documentation and engaging a filing service. Why? Because regional centers take time to compile job creation reports and economic data, and you don't want their delays causing you to panic buy legal representation at the last second. Once it's filed, you can expect a typical USCIS processing time of 12 to 24 months. Now, I know seeing a processing time of up to 24 months might cause a little anxiety, but here is where you can take a deep breath and let out a sigh of relief. Your conditional green card is automatically extended while your petition is pending. Yep, so even if USCIS takes a year or two to process your complex case, your legal status in the US is completely safe and active while you wait. And that brings us to where you stand right now. The finish line for your EB-5 journey, your permanent US citizenship, is literally in sight. You understand the high stakes, you know the massive difference between standard document prep and a real legal strategy, and you know exactly how to spot those red flags. So what does this all mean? Well, the only thing left to decide is who you will carefully choose to be the legal hero that guides you safely across that finish line. Take this framework, ask those tough questions, and protect your hard-earned investment.